You guys, this is Adrian Fuller, and today I'm going to share with you some things that I wish I'd known earlier when I was starting my private practice. I've had my private practice for 13 years now. We are now at seven figures, which is great, but I was just as excited when we got to five and when we got to six. So if you are have this big goal and you're like, oh, I just want to get there, the first thing I wish I'd known is don't be in such a hurry to get to that goal because every step along the way is a really precious step. Because think about it like this: you went from literally nothing, no patience, to growing something that helps so many families. Even if you help five families, even if you help one family, that's one child or one grown up. I know I'm talking to you like you're a kid, right? But that's one child or one uh, geriatric patient or whatever, whoever you treat, that is better because you decided to say yes. So I first want to say that. So I gave you a bonus there, but let's talk about the five things. You know me, I need my notes, but I'm going to freestyle too. All right. So the first thing is it is not about being a good clinician. So most of us know one thing, and that's we are good clinicians. We're good speech therapists. We're good OTs. We're good ABA therapy. Like we're good mental health therapy. You know that you're a good therapist, but that's not the only thing you need to have a successful private practice. Now, that's not to say give up or say, man, I didn't go to business school, so I can't do this. No, but you need more than just your will and your want to. You're going to need a few things. All right. So if you go into it knowing that, the the likelihood of you being disappointed in yourself or being hard on yourself hopefully will decrease because you're like, I'm a good therapist. Now I got to learn how to be a good business person. That's all it is. All right. All right. The next thing is you need systems earlier than you think. So when I used to think of systems, especially in the beginning, I used to think systems meant like things for huge companies, right? Like this big long system to get how you get paid, or this big long system how you get a client on your client roster, right, on your intake. But it's not. Systems are making sure that you do the same thing every single time for the things you do a lot of the time. So let's think about some things that we do a lot of the times, right? Or consistently. You consistently get people, evaluate students, evaluate families, evaluate patients for your business. You consistently do that. You consistently take money in some way. So if you're private pay, you consistently invoice them and they pay you. Or if you're an insurance provider or a scholarship provider, you invoice or bill insurance or bill that scholarship fund and they pay you, right? Another system you can have is cleaning and sanitizing. That's something else you should be doing quite often, all right? Even if you're mobile, having something pretty systematized, right? So let's talk about the first one that we talked about was intake. So from the beginning, think about the steps it takes for a client to get from the first phone call or email inquiry to getting you to evaluate them to them starting therapy. That should be systematized. And then if you do that the same every time, see, I am a minus personality. So sometimes I'm like, I did it this way, especially in the beginning days. I did it this way this time, but this time I'm loosey goosey. I'm gonna try something else. It's really good if you do it every time the same way. And of course, if you need to change it, if you need to tweak it, all systems have to be tweaked and they have to be tweaked pretty regularly. So don't be upset if you have to make a change, but then that gets you in the mode of it. So when you bring people on, as far as like new therapists, if you need an assistant, if you have an admin or a virtual assistant, you want to be able to tell them what you do. A lot of times when we're hiring is when we start getting systems in. You can do that. I always say if you're doing that, let the person know that you're hiring, hey, I've been a solo shop. I've done it myself and I've done everything myself. So now we're bringing you on. So we're going to work together to get our systems in place. They don't have to be perfect. A lot of times we're waiting to hire people because we know it's a mess behind the scenes, but that's okay. Like it all starts out sometimes as a mess because then you're just learning your business. So I want to normalize that. I think especially in my specific profession, speech language pathology, a lot of us tend to want things to be, oh, they look great and they're shiny and they're pretty and they're perfect. First of all, nothing's perfect. So give yourself permission to not be and to make mistakes. Okay. Another is finances, your money. How are you collecting money? That should be a system. So if your custom is to do the treatment and then charge, you need to do that every single time. And if that is not happening, that could be an indication it's time to either outsource or tweak your system a bit. Okay. All right. The next thing I want you to know is marketing matters. A lot of times we get a client in the beginning pretty quickly, but then you realize I'm going to have to do some marketing to get more. And that's very normal. Um, don't be fooled by people on social media or even your friends that have private practices like, oh my gosh, I just woke up one day and I have all these inquiries in my back. No. So, first, let's talk about what marketing is and what it isn't. Marketing is simply telling people your business exists. Who you're telling, that's kind of up to you and who your customer is and who you're going to try to target. So I used to think, oh, if I'm not doing lunch and learns at doctor's offices, I'm not marketing. But that's not the case. I'm just letting people know it exists. So if that means I'm wearing a t-shirt or a polo shirt with my logo on it, that's a form of marketing. If I'm reaching out to 100 or 50 of my closest friends and telling them I'm starting my private practice, or hey, just reminding you guys, I went on my own. And if you know anyone, send them my way. So you do that, whether you do social media ads, whether you go to doctor's office and or schools and drop off flyers or do free screenings, all of that is marketing. So do that, but do that consistently because sometimes we're so afraid. And I'm right there with you. My heart used to be beating so fast when I would go into doctor's offices telling them about my business but you have to do it and do it afraid, and it's okay to do it afraid and just keep going, okay? But they are seeds that you plant. So you would never plant a seed and then next week expect a full grown cucumber or flower or whatever you planted, right? Because those things take time. That's how marketing is. So consider that and remember that. The next one is get rid of contractors, employees, and vendors that are no longer serving you. Sometimes when you're in a profession such as therapy, which tends to sometimes have a shortage, right? So if you find a great therapist and you're like, this person is so amazing with my patients, but she's really hard to work with. Or this person is the best therapist, but they never turn in their notes on time. Or they're always kind of second guessing me, or they're disrespecting me. And that could go for vendors too. Like, the saying goes, if I do the paying, I do the saying. That is what it is. So I don't want to give my money to a vendor that is mean, or a vendor that is very short or impatient with me, or just not good at their job. Same thing with therapists. Like, you can have someone who is the nicest person, but they're just not very good at therapy itself. Nice and not being good at their job, those are two different things. And hey, I would love to have a cup of coffee with you, but maybe you shouldn't work for me. But if you discover that that is the case, you have a couple of things you should do. All right? I recommend that you either counsel them, like give them a chance to make it right. Let them know, like, this is concerning to me and I need you to make this right in the nicest, loving way. you can be kind and still tell people what you want. All right. Then another thing is maybe they're just not in the right place. So you could have maybe a billing person, and I'm just taking examples, but maybe a billing person or admin person who is not the nicest, but they're really like not the nicest to your patients, but they're really good at organization and they have great admin skills. They may be better at home virtually if that works for you. If you're like, no, my core value is we are nice to everyone that walks through the door, then you have a decision to make. Are you going to reassign them? Jim Collins in the book Good to Great always talks about getting the person on the right bus in the right seat. So sometimes they belong to us. They should be in our company or in our practice, but maybe in a slightly different role. Try that. But if none of those work, then you need to look at we need to separate. Okay? Because sometimes you spend a lot of time going back and forth when you could have really just kind of gotten rid of a person, and people are not expendable, right? So we don't just throw people away, but you could have replaced the person with someone else that's a better fit. All right. I really wish I had known that. I have had a really good amount, not a good amount, but I've had a few therapists, even admins that just weren't the best fit for me. But I tried to hold on because I didn't want to retrain someone new. I was scared I wasn't going to find someone. But anytime I'm being led by fear or fear is guiding my decisions, that's not a decision I'm going to be able to stand behind in the end. Okay. And then the next thing is the last thing, clarity. Clarity is more important to me than your website, than your business plan, than anything else. Because if you're clear about what you want your business to be and you move in that way, you can get a lot more done and accomplished. In the beginning, I wasn't sure. I worked with kids and adults. Not to say that you can't do that, right? But I saw everyone and I saw every disorder. And then it was just like, it's just so, I wasn't doing anything well. And so when I got really clear about the who I wanted to see, for me, that was kids. I wanted to take insurance, specifically Medicaid, but it was really frustrating to me that sometimes we were getting a lot of absences, a lot of no-shows, and we couldn't really charge for that in our state. So then I was like, I need to be really clear about the kind of parent and family that I want to walk through my door, right? We don't turn anyone away all the time, but we have a very strict attendance policy that we enforce. So that could be another video, right? Attendance, because that's a big one. But if you, just to get you started right now, whatever your attendance policy is, you create it, but it needs to be something you're comfortable saying and you're comfortable enforcing. All right. So that's it for today. All the things I wish I had known. Now, I'll say one more thing about clarity, because clarity sometimes only comes when we do it. So it's okay to not be totally clear because you've never had a business. You've probably never had a private practice before. So how it's going to look is, well, it might be very different from what you started out thinking it was going to look like. That's okay. But the goal is to be as clear as you can on as many things as you can. Because if you're we're still building the plane while we're flying it, but you still got to know where you want to go. All right. Well, if you've loved this or you've gotten anything out of it, send it to someone that might really benefit from hearing these things, but also like and subscribe it. I consume a lot of content, and for a long time, I never liked anything, I never subscribed to anything. But now that I'm on this side, anytime I get a new subscriber or I get a like, it really encourages me to keep going. So do that for me, please. And until next time.